So for the next one, we are going to move into the rotary brush. The main purpose of the rotary brush, also known as the facial brush, is to lightly exfoliate the skin. The brush can be rotated at different speeds and directions. Some brushes are simple rotary, while some come with additional options such as ultrasonic technology that provide additional deep cleaning results. It's no different than the skin scrubber. So you have rotary brushes that have the same functions and benefits of the skin scrubber, and you have rotary brushes like the ones we have at the school, which are simply rotary brushes, meaning they're a mechanical cleansing brush that you would use for added exfoliation or deep cleansing. For deep cleanse out. Brushes come in smaller sizes for the face and larger for other areas of the body, such as the back, and they have two or three small brushes with different textures, ranging from soft to firm. In recent years, more advanced technologies such as ultrasonic spatulas used for deep cleansing have replaced the rotary brush. So you can use one or the other, or you can do both. If I was going to do both, it'd be on an acneic, extremely oily client. I would use the rotary brush during the cleansing, possibly again during the exfoliation, depending on the client itself. And then I would do the extractions with the skin spatula, the ultrasonic device. When to use the rotary brush. Integrating the rotary brush into your service can help you achieve various goals. Those goals are using the brush when your goal is to lightly exfoliate the skin without the use of chemicals such as enzyme or peels. So, the rotary brush will make a manual exfoliator more effective. And then using the brush during the second cleansing step in order to save time. I like to caveat that and say it'll save you time in that second cleanse, but it'll also give you a much deeper cleanse. Because of that, I'm only going to use the rotary brush with clients whose skin is very thick, whose skin has a lot of moisture, a lot of oil. I would use it on someone who has dehydration to help exfoliate that top layer of dead skin, stimulate the cellular turnover, but I would really be cautious to use this on someone who is dry skinned because the oil protects that acid mantle. So I would only use the rotary brush on someone with normal to oily or oily, excessively oily skin. The effects of the rotary brush are the rotary brush provides light exfoliation. Cleansing brushes can stimulate the skin and help soften excess oil, dirt, and cellular buildup. I think another benefit is ultimately just a deep cleanse, but it is also relaxing. Like it says, you can use it on other parts of the body. They have heads that are brushes, they have heads that are textured for more of a buff effect to the skin. If you are going to do body treatments with your rotary brush, then it is very important that you have a set of rotary brushes that are for body treatments and you have a set that are safe to use on the face. Even though you are going to properly clean these with the EPA and all of that, I would use body items for body, face items for face. Contraindications and best practices. To prevent harm to your client, it's important to be aware of contraindications and best practices when using the rotary brush. To avoid damaging or further irritating the skin, do not use brushes on acne, um, excess acne. So, acne that's higher than a grade 3. If they have normal to light acne, you can use it over the top of the acne as long as it's not pustular. I mean, not pustular, it's not cluster type of acne. And Couperose skin, fragile or an inflamed skin. Moisten the brushes before each use to soften the bristles. You want to make sure the brushes are moist, not dripping. So I like to wet them in my warm water and then coat them in a little bit of product. Start the rotary brush on like my gloved hand and then bring it to very damp skin. More sensitive skin requires a slow, steady rotation and soft brushes with fewer passes. If you are insistent upon using the rotary brush on a dehydrated or a sensitive skin client or a dry skin client, then I would use it on very slow and very low and with no added pressure from my hands. And I would do one pass maximum. Give them their version of a deep cleanse without overstripping the skin. Thicker, oily skin can tolerate a faster speed and firmer brushes with more passes and more pressure from your hands. Fewer passes produce less exfoliation. So the fewer passes you use, the less of an exfoliation you're going to get. The brush should not be overused or it will cause irritation and sensitivity. I would not use the brush to apply and remove a lot of products. Once, maybe twice in a service, depending on the client's skin type and issues. Apply gentle pressure. It is a manual moving tool, so it's spinning, but the pressure you put behind it with your hands is going to help determine how effective it is. I will allow it to lightly graze the skin until the client is comfortable with it, and we know that it's not going to damage the skin or the acid mantle. So, safety and maintenance of the rotary brush. It's important to note that only brush heads can be fully immersed in the disinfectant and appropriate strength should be used. So, an EPA registered disinfectant should be used. Some brushes with natural bristles may deteriorate and are prohibited from use due to the inability to clean and disinfect them. So, there are brushes that have a have bacterial spores present, so that means they can't completely be cleaned, so you wouldn't be able to use those. If you are buying a rotary brush machine, you need to make sure it's a professional machine like the one you see on the screen. I wouldn't buy one of those Clarisonic brushes. That's a rotary brush, but it's not a professional one. And you don't know what that material is made of, therefore, you don't know if it can be completely disinfected. With that being said, let's go on. Rotary brush machines come with detachable brushes for cleaning. They can be fully immersed, and here are some guidelines for maintaining those brushes. Remove the brushes after each use and wash them thoroughly with soap and water. Thoroughly clean the handpiece, cords, and the machine with disinfectant, just like you would with any other cords, machine, or disinfectant. From there, after manually cleaning, immerse the brushes in the disinfectant for the time recommended in the manufacturer's instructions. It's important to clean, rinse, and dry and store these brushes properly so that they don't lose their shape and so that they don't build and harbor bacteria. If the brushes become bent or lose their shape, they will not rotate properly, but they will also can damage the skin. Although they can be stored temporarily in a dry ultraviolet sanitizers, the brushes will break down if left in the UV sterilizer for too long. The maximum amount of time you need in the UV sterilizer for any tool or implement is 10 minutes. If done the following decontamination methods, manual cleaning, sanitizing, sterilizing, then each step does its part. You don't need to leave it in there overnight. All you're going to do is break down your implements. When they're completely dry, transfer them to a closed container. Do not store any tools and implements in a damp or moist state in a closed container because bacteria will build for them. So, for the procedure of the rotary brush, you're going to insert the appropriate size of brush into the handheld device. Apply cleanser or water or exfoliator to the skin, depending on what it is that you're trying to use. Use a piece of cotton or 4x4 in your hand to catch any excess water. Use the brush up to 3 passes on each area and for approximately 3 to 5 seconds in each section unless directed otherwise, making sure to limit the number of passes according to the sensitivity of the client's skin or area you're working on. If you're going to use it more than once in a treatment, so you're going to use it during the second cleanse and during the exfoliator, I would do 1 pass for each one of them and I would do a lower speed. If I'm only going to use it during the cleanse or the exfoliator, then I might do 2 or 3 passes and I might use it at a higher speed, dependent upon the client's skin, of course. You want to make sure you keep the brush moving across the face at all times and with light pressure in a circular pattern. Ensure the bristles remain straight and uncompressed throughout the process. So you don't want to smash it against the skin. You want the bristles to be uncompressed throughout the entire process. Then you're going to apply water to the bristles as needed, making sure you're adjusting the speed and begin a horizontal pattern across the forehead. Make sure you do not allow the brush to drag or lift on the skin. You just want to gently rub it across. The brush should always be damp, but not to the point that it's dripping on the client. You want to make sure you wipe excess water on a 4x4 or pad or towel if necessary. Remember, I like to keep a towel in my lap or on my hand so that I'm good to go. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. Continue the sequence down to the cheeks, nose, upper lip, chin, jaw, and neck area, and then lift the brush from the skin, turn off the machine, disengage the attachments. So again, I like to dampen the brush before I put it on the client's skin. On a gloved hand, I'm going to make sure that I test the speed and I'm going to test the pressure. I'm also going to lather up any product that I'm applying to the skin on my gloved hand. Thank you. I'm going to apply it to my gloved hand. That way I can know that it's doing what it needs to do and it's not too much, it's not too little, and the product is not sticking or having any issues there. But ultimately, it's a really simple tool or device to use. Deep cleansing, normal to oily skin, avoid cuperose skin, and you would clean it following the normal decontamination methods, cleaning, disinfecting, sterilizing, and you're good to go with the rotary brush. So before we end this one, does anybody have any questions? Perfect. And we will stop this one here.